Hello, this is Trent Grable from the C3 here at the C3 Speaker Series Fall 2018. Today we're here with Christie Bowen. And Christie's going to talk to us about how she found herself wherever she is and give us some advice on how she has used innovation, leadership, and just true grit to get where she's going. Christie, welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us what you actually do for money?
Yeah, that's a great question. $1 million question is, how do you get paid to do what you love, right? So the way that I came to the job that I have now, this isn't any sort of scientific formula, but it's kind of the driving force in my life. Figuring out what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and where those concentric circles meet is kind of how I found my job. So how do I get paid for what I love and what I'm good at? So at the end of the day, I'm what you could consider a communication consultant. So I do a lot of work with organizations and individuals on things like conflict management, team building, leadership, etc. So what I tend to find in my line of work is that everybody has a niche. So people tend to be good at what they do, or they have a specific skill set. You don't always know the best way to communicate with one another, resolve problems, work alongside people who don't communicate like they do. So that's where I enter the picture. I've always been fascinated with the way that different kinds of people communicate and work alongside each other. And that is how I found what I'm passionate about, what I'm good at, and learned to get paid for it.
And how did you get there? From far back as you want to?
Sure. Yeah. So we'll talk about grit when I tell this story for a minute. So if you would ask my boss or the owner of my organization how I got my job, he would tell you this story. He would tell you that I showed up enough times on the doorstep of our building that he was finally like, I should probably hire you. I think you're going to come back again if I don't. So to go back a little further than that, when I was an undergrad, so where many of you find yourselves today, I was an English major because I thought I wanted to go to law school. So I had not yet figured out that what I was passionate about and what I was good at was not that. So I don't have what it takes to be an attorney. It's just not my skill set, but I thought I wanted to do it. So majored in English, and along the way took some communication classes, and I thought, man, this is really interesting. I really like this, but I'm already halfway through my English degree. So what do I do? So I double majored. So if you are doing something right now in school that you're not interested in, I would highly encourage you to find something that you are. So for too long, I went down a path that I thought I should be going down for whatever reason until I figured out what I loved. So double majored, decided, took a couple years to figure out where the best fit was for me. So I ended up in education for a little while. So there's an aspect to my job that has to do with training. I'm really passionate about teaching people, helping people communicate. So I ended up in the nonprofit education world for a little while. I was with a program called Teach for America. Don't know if anybody's familiar with Teach for America. Kind of like the Peace Corps for teachers. So they recruit you to go teach in under-resourced inner-city schools for 2 years. So I did that. Through that, I figured out that people, like I said before, are good at what they do, but they don't always know how to work together in the way that's most productive for everybody. So for example, when you're teaching in an under-resourced inner-city school, what's important are the kids, right? The kid at the end of the day, that they have access to a quality education. Teachers need to be aligned in order to meet the goal of helping the kids. And what I found there was not everybody was on the same page. Teachers ran their classrooms completely different ways. How do we figure out how to work together for the good of the kids? And that's when what I'm passionate about, what I felt I was good at, started to merge together even more. So then I decided, after I was done with the program, I'm going to go to grad school. I love communication. Why not? Right? Like you said earlier, just give it a try. Figure it out. Against the advice of my financial advisor, who said, I don't know if this is a good idea for you financially. It's what I figured it out, right? Scholarships are available. If you've got true grit, you'll figure out how to make it happen. So I went to grad school, got my major in professional communications. And towards the end of my tenure in grad school, I thought, what am I going to do with this? There's no job that I know of where people will let me do what I'm good at and what I love and pay me for it. So I was at called a speed networking event, kind of like speed dating, but with professionals. You get 2 minutes to sit across from a business owner and kind of give them your pitch. When I sat across from my current business owner, Jim Wilcox, I found him to be super interesting, highly intelligent, and I wanted to do what he did. But I only had 2 minutes to talk to him, and so the bell rang, and I thought, no, I need to talk to you longer. So I moved from person to person to person, and at the end of the session, I went back and said, can you tell me more about what you do? So it sounds like you're doing some sort of leadership management training, working with people. Do you need somebody to come in and communication consult? And he said, no, I think we're good. And I said, are you sure you don't need somebody to come in and consult for communication? And he said, well, let me go back to my clients and see if this is even something that might be a good fit. So it took a little longer than I wanted. So that's when I showed back up and said, hey, have you figured out yet if you want somebody to come in and do communication consulting for you? And he said, I like your perseverance. I think you love what you do. Let's give it a try. So for 2 years now, that's been my niche on the team that I'm on. So we work with people on sales training, leadership training, management training, and I work most specifically with teams on their communication. So I don't know how much you all know about any sort of like communication training or assessments, but some of the work I do with people involves DISC assessments. Has anybody heard of DISC assessments? So we talk about all the way from your bottom line communicator. We all know from having relationships with friends, family, colleagues, there are people who don't like a lot of small talk. They like to get straight to the point. They make decisions quickly. And then there are people where if we don't reel them in, they could probably tell us all about their family and kids and pets and friends all day long, right? There's nothing wrong with either one of those styles. We've just got to figure out how to move forward and communicate effectively with every single style. So that, I think it was a really roundabout way of answering your question, but that's kind of my story and a little bit about what I do.
Good. That you want to take. Yep.
I'll go round and round until you stop me.
We just point in a direction. And you say,
you go that way.
You go that way.
And then turn left.
Let us know when you're done going that way. So you talked about finding your niche, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we really like to point out here at the C3. So talk about, if you would, the difference between trying to find a statistically viable job.
Okay.
You know, like what your financial advisor was saying. It's like, it might not make sense statistically versus pursuing that one thing that you can do better than everybody else.
Yep. So I love that question. Take my answer with a big grain of salt, because I truly believe that this worked for me, and I've seen it work for students. In terms of finding the job that you think is right for you, if you are somebody who wants to follow your passion and find enjoyment and fulfillment in your work, I would highly encourage you to figure out as soon as you can what you love. If it's not a lucrative profession and you think, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills doing this, figure out a way to do it on the side. So for instance, I know people who love things like art and music. It's really hard to break into art and music, right? So to become a musician or an artist and be good at it and get paid for it, it can be difficult. It's possible, but find a way to incorporate it into your life. If it's not, as you called it, statistically viable job, right? So for me, I created my own statistically viable job by saying, hey, I think there's a need for this. So push for yourself, advocate for yourself. Some of you may be interested in things where there are statistically viable statistically viable jobs. Find out what you love and do it. Don't let anybody else tell you, hey, this is what you should be doing. The other thing I want to mention about that, so I'm probably older than all of you think I am, so I look young. I promise you I'm in my mid-30s. So if you find yourself on a course and you think, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, don't give up, but figure out how to make a change. Because I know far too many people who are sitting in offices from 8 to 5, miserable during the work week, just because they're scared to make a change or they don't believe that they can. I also know plenty of people who are doing what they love and getting paid for it. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, sometimes it takes time. It takes grit. It takes heart. It takes determination. It doesn't always happen the first go. So I actually have a friend who is opening up, it's called a makerspace here in Fort Wayne. He quit his job teaching because he just wasn't happy. He came to me for coaching and he said, hey, seems like you love what you do. I want to love what I do. How do I get started? So he's writing grants. He's got a space identified. He's working with people. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
So he's a friend from college, actually.
Oh, okay.
So,
small world.
yeah. So he is pursuing his dream, and I've never seen him happier.
Take a note. We're inviting him to the next speaker series.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
His name's John Raywell.
Yep. We'll invite John.
He'd be
John,
a
if
great
you're
person
watching
for
this,
this.
you're invited.
Sorry to get weird on you.
Yeah, you can blame Christie for that.
Yeah. So that's the thing, though. He was miserable in what he was doing, and so it was time to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good to know, right?
Yeah. So believe that you can. I know that sounds hokey and cliche, but you have, I mean, it's your livelihood. We spend how many hours of our lives working, right?
Yeah.
To that effect, though, I think it's always good to have a plan B. So I don't want you to believe that I've always been a chaser of my dreams and gotten what I wanted every single time. That I have definitely worked jobs to bring in money while I pursue my dreams. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You should always have a safety net or a plan B as well.
The importance of the side hustle, right?
A side hustle. You said it. Yep.
So you talked a little bit about your perseverance in getting your current position, right? How do you balance perseverance and annoyance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you say, how do I balance perseverance and annoyance? Like, how did I not annoy my boss?
Yeah. How did you get them to be the point where like, I appreciate your perseverance and I'm not annoyed by you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I could see where the story could have gone that way. I think it's about presence, right? So when it comes to your own communication, you've got to be situationally aware. So when we think about people's nonverbal cues, if I'm a situationally and self-aware person, I know when I've crossed a line, right? We've all been talking to somebody and kind of seen them A, glaze over, B, their nonverbals have been really explicit about, I'm done with this conversation. Be situationally aware is what I would say. There are going to be people that as you pursue your dreams, they may get irritated with you for whatever reason. That's not the right person to be having the conversation with.
So we've talked a little bit about expertise, right? And some things are a little bit easier to say, I'm an expert in this, right? Like if you're a physician, you get that degree and then like, okay, you're a physician.
Right.
When you're talking about something like a soft skill, like communication, how do you gauge how good you are in a soft skill like that?
Yeah, that's also a great question. So I think in soft skills, there's an element of experience that lends itself to expertise. So the what I'm good at circle kind of helped me get the experience. So I don't have a problem telling clients or people, I really don't know the answer to that. Let's figure it out together, right? I think you become an expert by the questions you ask other people. So if I don't have an answer to something, I don't pretend to know. I think that's where you lose credibility on the opposite end of the spectrum of being an expert. So ask good questions. People will think that you know more than you do, right? Don't feel like you need to answer everything. Reverse it and ask them. You'll learn a lot just by listening to other people. I think that's what's made me who other people consider to be an expert in my field. I don't know that I'll ever consider myself a full, true expert because I don't know that you can get enough experience in communication to consider that. But I know that other people might tell you that they think I am.
What would your definition of an expert be then?
An expert in communication to me would be somebody who can look at a situation and get people to see it from an alternative view. So I've definitely failed in my current role. I've had some successes. So my successes are generally when people step back and say, I think you're crazy, but I'm going to try it, right? I'm going to adapt my communicative style to try to get along better with these people that communicate completely different than me. And when they see a positive result, they think, hey, there must be something to this. I don't ever ask anybody to change how they're naturally wired to communicate. So if you're a bottom line communicator, it wouldn't make sense to totally rewire how you communicate. We're not asking people to have split personalities, right? But just adapt the way you communicate so that you can mirror other people a little bit better. You'll find that it can be very effective.
So you tried out law school. That was a dream that turned out to be a nightmare.
Yep.
And you tried out teaching.
Yep.
Which may not have been as nightmarish, but you transitioned out of that.
I love teaching adults.
Okay, that's good to find, right?
Yep.
So you learned through both of those experiences. How did you make the most of those? The lessons you learned in those while still killing that and saying that is not for me? Let me take pieces of that and move on.
Good question. So there was a reason that I wanted to go to law school and a reason that I wanted to teach. So the reason I wanted to go to law school is because I'm fascinated by debate. I love when there are two opposing opinions and people can get to the end of that and kind of, whether or not they reach a conclusion or not, I love the art of debate. So what I took away from that is I put it into my skills with communication, right? There's a way to artfully debate in terms of communication. In terms of education, I train for a living. So I train people on something that I love. In my former years, I was teaching things like math, science. Nobody wants me teaching them math or science. I don't know enough about math or science to get even a second grader through that course. So now I bring that element of training and teaching to something that I actually love teaching other people to do. And I think that those are the things I pulled from those initial interests.
Mm-hmm. So it was really important for you to figure out why you were originally drawn to those.
Yes,
right? As
absolutely.
To do that. So how many things, different career paths or hobbies or skill sets have you tried? And what was your success rate approximately?
Yeah. So I never let myself quit anything prematurely. So I'm a firm believer that you should give things a shot, right, before you completely give up. But let's see, how many things did I try? So I did work at a law firm out of school because I'm a firm believer you shouldn't quit, and I wanted to give it a fair chance. I taught for Teach for America. I still teach over at PFW, and so it took me, I guess, four adult professional experiences to find where I am now and where I want to stay.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting too, that even in the statistically viable jobs, you have to find your niche in that statistically viable job. So how would you suggest students or anybody looking for that niche to find their niche in a saturated field?
Yeah, great question. First, I would, if you haven't already figured out the classes that you enjoy and the classes that you don't, 'cause let's be honest, we all have both. Right. So I teach public speaking at PFW, and I think maybe one student a semester enjoys public speaking. I don't know. Maybe you enjoy public speaking. Most students don't. Secondly, once you figure it out, find somebody who's doing well and happy in that field and ask them either to mentor you or have a cup of coffee, have a conversation. If you can gain knowledge from people who are already doing something kind of like you think you might want to do as an undergrad or a grad student, or even a doctoral student, right? Or even somebody who's graduated already. Talk to those people and ask them, what day to day, what inspires you? How do you do what you do well? What's tough for you? Gain all the knowledge you can before you take on that experience for yourself.
How many times has someone reached out to you to get a coffee or to be mentored, and have you crushed their dreams and said, no way?
Never.
Never. Okay. Yes. So there's some benefit in reaching out to people.
I wanted to make sure I answered you honestly.
Okay.
Never.
Yeah. I was
I've
had
never
to think about it. Like, okay, maybe it was that one guy.
Yeah. It was almost like a trick question. So I do have a former student. I actually ran into him. He works at PetSmart. And so I was picking up crickets for my fiance's tarantula, which is another story.
Which is going to be our next question.
It was a secret Santa gift. Still mad about that. And he sent me an email after we ran into each other, and he said, hey, you seem, I see you still teaching, and you have this new thing you're doing. Tell me about it. I'm interested in going into sales. And I wrote back and said, why do you want to go into sales? And he said, well, I want to make a lot of money. And I said, okay, that's possible in sales, right? But what are you passionate about? And he said, reptiles. And I said, okay, so here's what, this is going to sound like weird advice, but find a way to incorporate that. If you're going to go into sales, find a way to incorporate what you love, because you're going to burn out. If you're doing it to make a lot of money, right? You can make a lot of money in sales, but if you don't love what you do, you're going to burn out quickly. And I see it every week with clients. People who don't want to be in sales don't stay in sales because they don't care about what they're doing, what they're selling, their service, their product, and eventually they burn out. So there you go. I love it. I love Zig Ziglar. That is a fantastic book.
So, tarantulas.
Tarantulas. Yeah, we're going to switch gears.
Yeah, we are. Now I'm interested. Tell me about tarantulas.
Yeah, so my fiance worked at a law firm, ironically, and they have like a Secret Santa party every year. And so for years, somebody was saying, I'm going to get a live tarantula and give it to somebody as a Secret Santa. And we were the lucky recipients that year he came out with a tarantula and he was so excited. And I said, there's no way you bought that without talking to me. And he said, nope, Secret Santa gift. And it sits in our hallway and it has for 3 years now. Yep.
So what I heard from that was if you really want something, get it as a Secret Santa gift.
Right.
You get to keep it.
Really?
Because that's the cop out. Yeah. Okay.
There's something called law of attraction right? That I'm pretty sure he put out into the universe. Yeah, and then eventually it came back to him as a Secret Santa gift.
Yeah. So a little partnership there.
Yes.
He got a tarantula and somebody else got something there.
Somebody else got something.
Do you have something as well in home that he's like, nah, but you keep around anyway?
No, but I think I'm going to after this conversation.
What are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to give that one some more thought.
Okay.
But I feel validated in that now.
Okay, yeah,
So
definitely.
this conversation.
Definitely. So, would you, looking back in your collegiate years, say freshman, sophomore, in your early collegiate years, how accurate is your life right now compared to how you thought it was going to turn out?
Semi. So
That's very accurate. I can see a percentage there.
Yeah, semi-accurate. So I knew in college that I wanted to end up being happy in my professional endeavors. That is true. The reason I say semi is because I did not think that I would actually be doing something like this because I didn't know that communication consulting was a thing. So I thought, hey, I'll find a way to do what I love, incorporate it into my everyday world. But I didn't know that I could really be doing something that I love full time. So that's why I say semi. If that's a fair answer to your question.
That's fair. Yeah, you can answer however you want. Really,
Okay.
I give you a hard time. That's what I do. As a host. So how would you say you took, going back to your speed networking, you saw an opportunity there to engage with someone that you really thought had a really neat business proposal.
Yep.
How did you think, what is at my disposal? And then how do I use that to get to that location? Instead of thinking, man, I have to go back and reinvest in all these things. And go get a doctorate or go get experience or whatever. How do you take what you have and make the best use of that?
Yeah, great question. So no one's going to sell yourself better than you. No one's going to advocate for you better than you. You have got to do in this world something that's going to make you stand out. So I work with a lot of people who are job hunting, right? And so whenever I look at their resume, the first thing I do is set it aside and tell me what is going to be different when somebody reads this piece of paper from the other, let's say 30 pieces of paper on their desk. And most of them say, I don't know. Well, or maybe I made it red at the top or my picture's on there, right? Or I arranged the order of this specifically. You've got to create a unique experience for people if you're going to get ahead. So that may mean a phone call. It may mean showing up, right? It's those moments where you feel in your gut, this is kind of weird and scary. Do it anyway.
Like selling reptiles.
Yes. Yes.
Good. I like that example. I'm going to steal that from now on.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Super. So now's my favorite part of the show. Not that this wasn't wonderful, but is our rapid fire part of the show. And what I'm going to do is I have a set of questions here, and I'm going to give them to you in rapid fire, and you just need to answer them, whatever comes to your mind first.
Okay.
Keep in mind, keep this PG, because we are live streaming, and then I don't want my boss to yell at me. So, all right, here we go. Favorite Fort Wayne restaurant?
Oh, gosh. Dashin.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Favorite Disney character?
Aladdin.
Oh, that's Aladdin. Why Aladdin?
I kind of surprised myself there. I don't know. I as fast as I can. That was my favorite Disney movie as a kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have a favorite song from the movie?
Oh, I could probably sing them all. You don't want me to.
Would you like to right now?
No.
Okay.
I don't. For the sake of the audience, I won't.
What do you do to relax?
Relax? I don't. I
don't
think I relax very well.
Biggest pet peeve?
Oh, okay. This is very weirdly specific. So when I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, but this requires me to slow down a little bit.
It's your show, really. So yeah.
When you ask someone a question and they already have an idea of how you're going to answer, and they kind of mouth what you're saying back to them. Do you know what I'm talking about? Some people are nodding their heads, and I always think, if you knew what I was going to say, why did you ask the question? So for some reason, I don't know why that's a pet peeve of mine. I think our brains naturally wire us to kind of mouth what the person's going to say back. But anyway, weirdly specific
Good.
pet
I
peeve.
will avoid doing that from now on.
The other one is when people say I could care less. You couldn't care less.
Because you couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I could care less about that.
I knew you were going to throw that in.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
If you could live in another country, what country would it be?
Belgium.
Oh, why?
I was afraid you're going to ask me. I don't know. Now I'm just in rapid fire mode. I think it's been on my bucket list for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Simple. I like it. Simple.
Or something.
Favorite dessert food?
Oh, favorite dessert food would be mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Mm. If an actress were to play you in a movie, who would it be?
Oh, gosh.
Or actor. I mean, you can pick anybody.
Yeah.
Or animal.
Anne Hathaway?
Okay.
Is that fair?
You're
she's a brunette. I like it being kind of accurate. This is hard. This
I
is
know,
harder
yeah,
than the
I know.
original question.
No, sorry.
Okay.
What is your spirit animal?
I want to say a zebra, and I think I do have a reason. So they're a little bit different. So it's like a horse, right? But they're kind of like there's a party going on there.
A party
Yeah.
horse. Oh, I've never
Is that
thought
fair?
of a zebra as a
I don't
party
know, you're-
horse, but now zebras are party
Yeah,
horses.
it's like a little more fun than a regular horse.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
can see that.
We can edit this, right?
Yeah, there's no wrong answer here.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
no wrong answer. All right. What is your biggest spending weakness?
Ugh. I don't even want to admit this out loud.
Then don't lie. That's fine.
Okay. So how many people have Amazon Prime accounts? I cannot stop. I don't need everything that I order to be delivered to my house in 2 days, but I can't even answer the question more specifically than that. Because if I'll be walking and I'll think, it'd be really nice to have, and I'm already on Amazon Prime searching for it. Buy with one click is probably the worst thing to ever happen to me.
Yeah. It's hard.
I know.
You sign out every time to try to prevent yourself.
I should.
Okay. Well, there's my free advice to you.
Thank you.
Being on our show.
It's priceless.
I know. I'm helpful like that. Well, thank you very much. Any piece of final advice for our students or anyone watching right now?
Remember the concentric circles. If you can figure out a way to get paid for what you're passionate about and what you're good at, work to be in the middle of those circles because it will be worth it. Your livelihood and feeling fulfilled in your life, it'll make a huge difference. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Christie, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
showing
It's
up.
fun. I appreciate
That's
it.
our teacher series for the week.